This is part 2 of solving simple equations. Sometimes when we need to solve simple equations, we have things like this where we see it's not so simple. So what do we do for this? So I'm going to rewrite it out here so we can see it. X plus 4 divided by 0.2 equals 5. So we want to solve this equation. This says which value makes the equation true. So we could actually take this number and put it in here and do this and see if this side equals 5. Or we could do this, put 5 in for k, solve this side of the equation and see if we get 5. And so on. We could try the 3 or we could try the 1.5. Or we could solve the equation using some steps that we can learn here. So if we are trying to solve this and we have this part here, we can actually do that first thing. We can say k plus, and then we can do that. What is 4 divided by 0.2? And if you did 4 divided by 0.2, you would get 20 equals 5. So we simplified first by combining like terms. In this case, combining like terms means that we are dividing, not adding or subtracting. So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to solve like normal. What are we solving for? K. What has been done to the K? Add 20. What's the opposite of add 20? Subtract 20. So we're going to subtract 20 from both sides, and we would get K equals negative 15. Right there, letter A. Number 4 is one of those story problems. So we need to learn to read a story problem and be able to pick important things out. Usually in a story problem, there's a sentence in here somewhere that you can use to change directly to symbols. So let's read this. The melting point of a solid is, remember is means equals, the temperature at which the solid becomes a liquid. So this is just a definition sentence. This one doesn't really mean anything at all. It's just a definition of melting point. So reading the next one, the melting point of bromine is, there's an is again, 1/3 of the melting point of nitrogen. So that's the sentence right there that we can change into a mathematical equation. So when it says the melting point of bromine, we're just going to call that B. Is equals, and then it says 1/30 of, do you remember what of means? Of means times the melting point of nitrogen. Let's call that one N. So now we have an equation. Write and solve the equation to find the melting point of nitrogen. And you say, well, I don't know anything here. You have to look at this little picture down here, and you'll see it says the melting point of bromine is -7. So right here for the B goes -7. -7 equals 1/30 times N. All right, so solving for N, we can ask ourselves these questions. What are we solving for? N. What has been done to it? It's been multiplied by 1/30. What is the opposite? Dividing by 1/30. So I'm going to divide both sides by 1/30. And then remember, when you divide by a fraction, we do, I'm going to write right up here, we have -7. We're going to keep, flip, change. So let's flip this one upside down, 30/1. We're going to change divide to multiply. So we actually are going to multiply 7 times 30. So we get nitrogen equals -7 times 3 is 21. Add that 0. And 1 times 1 is 1, so there's no need for anything on the bottom here. Then we go back over here and look at the units we were talking about, and it says degrees Celsius. So we still have degrees Celsius. Here's one for you to try. Go ahead, push the pause button, and then come back and try it. Number 11 looks tricky. What do you think about that? All right, for number 10, we divided first, and we got -4. P minus 4 equals -3. Add 4 to both sides, and you get P equals 1. For number 11, we are solving for P, and it has been added with the absolute value of negative 10. So I just said subtract the absolute value of negative 10 on both sides. And then over here, we end up with just a Q equals. And on this side, we have 2 minus, what is the absolute value of 10? Remember, absolute value is a distance from 0, so we just have 2 minus 10. So 2 minus 10 is negative 8. If we were to put this in here, negative 8 plus positive 10 equals 2, it would be true. Number 12, our key sentence was the very first one, and it says the melting point of mercury, we call that M, is means equals, about 1/4 of means times the melting point of krypton. So I have right here M equals 1/4 times K. We solve by dividing by 1/4, which keep, flip, change, multiply 39 times 4. It is 156, and then there's a negative sign on there. So we have negative 156 degrees Celsius is the melting point of krypton.